G'day, guys and girls. This episode is proudly brought to you by our sponsors, supshq.com.au. Use the code BWB10 at checkout for direct shipping and 10% off.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen of Instagram and YouTube. Yes, my quads are out, so we're getting a little bit frisky up here in Brisbane for our second live episode without Chris, because fuck Chris. Here with Mr. Benjamin Button Mayfield for Bros with Brains. How are we, sir?
Good, mate. Good.
Yes.
Life is moving along. Everything's happening. A bit of a lighter week since you've been up here, so it's good.
Week, please. Something a bitch.
A lighter week, as in workload and things like that. I took some time off to it. He took my golfing virginity, so
that was fun. So
can't play golf.
Ben is only good for 9 holes.
Very true.
And then he played golf. No. So he was good for half a round, and then actually, funnily enough, he left. I played better, so these things happen. Played, I think, 6 holes to par in a row, so it was great.
Pretty consistent with most things in life. When I'm not there, improves a bit.
So how has Brisbane been, do you think, Ben? I feel like I got lucky with the weather.
No, you did. You snagged a good week.
Everyone's been telling me
from what we picked up Friday, Thursday. Now it's Wednesday. You snagged a good week. You still got a few more days left.
Yeah, touch wood. I haven't had any fucking rain yet.
There's a bit of drop. You've done well.
Very lucky. And I'm playing Royal Brisbane tomorrow, so this is going to be interesting.
Yeah, this guy snagged a private, exclusive golf club fucking session up here. No one else by himself wants to just go play some golf.
Well, I mean, it's a very exclusive club, and it's like a lot of golf clubs have membership base, and I was just like, well, I'll call them. What's the worst thing they're going to say? Sorry, you're not a member. You can't play. I'm like, all right,
You can't do this.
I'll find somewhere else to play. And they're like, no, we have an interstate fee. Never mind, it's through the roof for a round of golf. Like, the people that I've asked, they've also said the same thing. You're stupid if you don't play. So I was like, all right, well, we're going to go play. So we're going to do it.
That's very fair.
Yeah. I mean, I did bring the golf clubs up. I may as well make the most of them.
You may as well. He did lug a fucking casket of clubs.
It's
got off the plane, and there's a big bag.
It's like nearly as tall as me. My clubs come up to like my hips, and the bag's fucking double the size. I'm like, what the hell's going in this bag?
There's definitely a body in there for sure.
Yeah, I got it through custom.
But yeah, you did snag a good week, and you've got another good weekend to come up with the seminar. We got lucky, so we luckily, Mr. Resourcefulness over here, in your association with a few people, managed to snag a pretty cool interaction with old muscle nerds Luke Lehman. That was a good experience for some of the clients and myself to actually meet someone of his caliber. And old Scaffy just decided to drop over here that he just knows him. He's a good friend of him. And we're like, all right, cool. Well, whilst his facility is in Brisbane, let's go check it out.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I got nothing. I've known Luke for quite a few years now. I think since 2017, 2018.
I was trying to explain to a couple of clients just how the caliber of Luke Lehman in the fitness industry in Australia, and how it's like it was. To be there was kind of like the comparison of, not to be there, but to be allowed in there by him, chat shit with him, chat shop with him, stuff like that. It was the equivalent of, let's say, randomly Chris Evans deciding to invite you to Comic-Con. That's kind of like...
I mean, he'll probably deny that. He is a very, very popular person, I guess, in our field of work and whatnot, and especially on social media, with Muscle Nerds being quite a popular brand.
Yes.
They've been around for a while. Heavy into the training, and he's obviously himself into like his biochemistry and stuff. Was coached and mentored by Charles Poliquin, which is really cool. But yeah, I just know him as Luke.
Yeah,
the Texan.
So. Yeah, it was funny. I was like, how can I get into this guy's skin? And the first thing I started asking about was his takeaway, their barbecues and their takeaways. Yeah. How's a Texas grill? You Australians don't know how to grill shit. Yeah, right, you say so.
Well, I mean, he's not wrong.
Yeah.
He's not.
But yeah, that was a good experience. It was something different to be able to chat with him a bit and not feel too under par with him. So that was good.
We got the golf terminology coming out.
I know.
Hanging out.
We played one game.
One
game on basically Tiger Woods.
He's coming tomorrow. He's going to put himself in. Just say from Melbourne.
Hey, you can't deny I pulled off some shots and then they just went away.
That chip shot you played out of your ass straight onto the green. I was just like, where did that come from? I missed the green by half a meter, and this guy's straight on the green third shot. Like, where did that come from?
It annoys me because now I recognize.
Hit that.
Yeah. Now I know that I can do it. That's the part that shits me.
Every time it should happen like that.
Yes. From now on, it should happen like that forever, and it definitely didn't. So I'm like, I know it's not a fluke because I paid attention to the cues to do it.
Yeah.
It's like getting one good set on a hack squat and then the rest of the trash. Like, I know I can do it.
Yeah, you've done it once.
I've done it. So now I'm going to figure out how to do it again.
Welcome to golf.
And we didn't record it, so I can't like stop and like assess my swing and like take all the data points down. It's just going to annoy me.
I'm going to be getting messages from people. Oh, he's doing private lessons. He's doing private. He's got himself a set.
The business is not doing that well yet.
So I'll send you my old golf clubs. I'll look after it. Don't worry. You get your first set of golf clubs. You'll be straight into it.
My virgin set.
That's it. You go off to the driving range, right?
So I guess the big question for you, mate, is how's Queensland coffee?
Actually, you know what? I've been very fortunate. So, like where I'm staying directly across, there's a genuine coffee shop. They have like different blends of coffee, different prices too. Like I don't know, it depends who's working. First day I got a coffee from there. I always get the same coffee, so for comparison, so people know. Double espresso with 1 sugar. Doesn't change. $4 the first time, $5 the second time. I think $4.50, and I'm like, nah, stuff it. There's an Italian cafe around the corner that makes a good coffee for $3. I'm like, done. I'm going there every time. Double espresso for $3. Still haven't had a Starbucks coffee yet. I can't get over how many Starbucks you have. There's one in every corner. Like it's as frequent as Easy Mart up here, and it's the equivalent to our 7-Eleven back up. Like your 7-Elevens, you got a couple up here, but they're not that popular. It seems. Easy Mart though, every second corner, and JB Hi-Fi and Rubber Sport. You have 4 of them. 4 of them inside 3 streets.
Yeah.
Like,
but to be fair, the Easy Marts don't go extend past the cities. You don't get Easy Marts anywhere outside of that. It'll swap where you find Easy Marts here in the city. It'll swap to 7-Elevens as you get further out.
Yeah, that's
so it's like you start getting 7-Elevens on the main roads and off the main streets and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, we just have 7-Elevens
everywhere. Yeah, right.
That's great.
I mean, makes sense.
Yeah, but it's just I couldn't get over the JB Hi-Fi. You walk down one road, there's a JB on your right. You turn left, there's a JB there. You turn right, there's another JB there, and then you go to the next block, and there's another JB. Like, so what is going on? So for explanation, he's staying in Charlotte Street, so it's like off Queen Street, where all of the shopping is in Brisbane, and he's found the 3 JBs and the 2 Rebels that exist on the same sort of square cross They're
section.
inside 100 meters of each other.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, yeah.
Usually it's like one owns the territory, and that's it. Like this is the go-to.
I think it's because they were actually getting so busy they kind of had to open an extended stock because of space. Like I don't think there's much large room for shopping. Like, oh, you've got shopping centres. Yeah, true. 3 of them. True. Yeah. Again, on every fucking corner. My center. Yeah, he's right. You're right. You're right. My center. Yeah. Exploring. I'm like, what is going on here? Yeah. We've got some nice little fooderies around. That's okay. Not quite Melbourne standard.
They're not bad. Little sneaky food places in certain spots, but you have to go exploring to find them. Yes. Yeah, I was craving a vegetable for a change. I was like, oh, fuck. You gotta go find a place where I get some veggies. Like, note, I'm having my super low days, and this guy's pulling out boxes of Krispy Kremes. I've had a box of Krispy Kremes every day. That's fine. 4 donuts. Actually, I had 2 last night. That TDE. I had 20,000 steps and 2 donuts yesterday. I should have had 8 donuts to make up for the steps because that's how it works. That is fair. Yeah, because my watch told me I burnt 55,000 calories to 20,000 steps. So that's accurate. So so I'm going to make it up with 55 donuts. That's fair. Yeah. Because science. 100 calories per donut, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, that's fair. That's just to get your maintenance. So then when you go back over. Then I'm going to eat again like normal. That's my normal. That's just eating back what you lost, right? Yeah, that's how it works. And then I've got to eat my 4 donuts afterwards. Because that's the day. Yeah. Well, my slices of cheese, actually. I've got to go find them. I haven't found them yet. There's no cheese on this episode, unfortunately. Nah. I've got to go find. I gotta go to Woolies. I got to pre-planned it. I'm sure he knows where I was going. But I believe we have an interesting rant today. Yeah, so given that both of us are reputably ISSN certified 100%. And recognised, I was interested in a conversation the other day where there was a post, I think, by Meso. Oh, what's his name? Menno. Yeah, Menno and Meso. Messi. Menno released a study regarding the more preferred or healthy ranges of body fats, and that came up as a topic around the whole health at every size equation and statement and all that sort of jazz. And he was like, look, here's the evidence starting to associate to longevity, and longitudinal studies. We're starting to see that
those who have these larger percentages of body fat are showing that these detrimental and degenerating health signs and things like metabolic disorders. So the statistical chances of you being actually metabolically healthy at a larger size is actually not probably true in the long term. It was a good study. It was real well articulated and explained to kind of cross off that statement, because we all know we have a bit of a bicker with that one because, well, it's just not true.
Very true.
So on this post though, in comes the bros, and I saw these comments, and it was things like, these science guys, for starters, that was the statement. These science guys can't comprehend that there's just things that science can't equate for. Like my friend's cousin's uncle's dog is this certain body fat at this certain weight, yet trains the house down and does this. Why is he not below 10% body fat? Simple statement. Very clearly either he's not burning that much food, he's highly stressed, or he's eating too many calories. That's really all it is. And then comes the things like the science guys can't equate for these sort of things. Why is it that these professional athletes who are incentivized to be as lean as possible can't get lean, yet they train twice a day, do all the cardio in the world, do X, Y, Z, and they're not looking like 6% body fat and shredded? And I said, this is a false comparison, because you're assuming that athletes are incentivized to be shredded when all we know is they need to be as lean as possible for their position. Or lean is even lean is the wrong word. They need to be as fit as possible and strong as possible to the position.
They need to be able to complete the task.
Yeah, they're performance athletes. Their body fat composition, don't get me wrong, I believe there is Giannis and a couple other players have clauses in their contracts about body composition due to injury risk, but that isn't to be 3% body fat, 6% body fat. It's to be healthily within a range of performance that your body fat or body composition won't affect.
Yes.
And this guy then began to tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about. I haven't read the contracts. Apparently he has on these multi-million-dollar agent athlete contracts.
Yeah, of course, because he's professional.
200 followers on Instagram.
Yeah, 100%.
And it made me laugh about how interesting this perspective was, that people are willing to argue this, because then I went on and say they are incentivized to be lean enough to play their position. They don't need to be stage ready shredded. And then this guy says to me, no one's talking about being stage ready. It's like, well, if your statement is they are being incentivized to be as lean as possible, that to me, lean as possible puts you in the stage ready condition, because that's about where you're going to get. If you can be as lean as possible and function as an athlete, you're almost going to get body, it would be detrimental to your performance, but you're going to get bodybuilder level conditioning.
Yeah, you're going to be pretty freaking lean.
And if that's your intention, as he's claiming to be, that to me was a laugh, because no athlete, and I've been a semi-professional athlete, as of you, no athlete is ever incentivized to be shredded to play basketball, rugby league, soccer, AFL, cricket, golf. None of these sports, none of these things are incentivized to be dick skin shredded, as we refer to it. So it just made me laugh that people are willing to die on the hill almost on these ideas that science can't capture this, and you guys don't know the behind the scenes stuff that I somehow know. And that's leading to athletes. There's something missing between what the science is saying and these athletes, because they must be training and burning all this fuel. And it's got nothing to do with the pizzas and the ice cream and the cakes and the sandwiches and the rolls and stuff that they eat back to put that back in.
Yeah.
It must just be that their cardio is super high, so therefore they should be shredded. I was like, And then came the statement. I saw the following statement was about they're incentivized with multi-million-dollar agents to get them, the world's best nutritionists and coaches. I was like, firstly, your presumption there is that these athletes have the world's best coaches. Yeah, sure. We've seen how, what's his name? LeBron squats and is taught to eat. Now, if that's the world's best coaches, I should be worth $1 billion a session. Yeah. So that statement alone is a false equivalence. Yes. But to get to that assumption that these coaches are getting as shredded as possible and they're incentivized and still can't do it, so therefore science misses the equation, I was like, yeah, you're just missing the variables here.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. It's you train for the task at hand and you eat to fuel the performance. So if you're fueling the performance and you're getting the job done and you're getting paid, no one's going to really care what you look like. It just so happens to be that those, I guess let's say, field-based or ball-based sports, coordination-based sports, basketball, soccer, rugby, footy, like AFL, they're all very heavily cardiovascular based exercises or sports also. So it just so happens that if you have a decently balanced diet with a very decently balanced training routine, chances are you're going to be lean-ish.
Yeah, you'll be lean.
You're going to be healthy.
Yeah.
So what we would deem healthy. Now, I guess, the premise of you need to be X amount of body fat. There are some sports, like I know, for example, in AFL, they'll turn around and in their off season, they'll say to their players, hey, we do not want you to come back off your break exceeding, X amount of skin folds or whatever it is. And if you do, it's not like they're going to be like, well, you're fired.
Just get it back down.
It just means we're going to have to do some extra work.
Yeah. We don't spend 4 days weeks skill training because you've got fat.
Yeah, exactly. So again, that's because of performance and risk of injury. The heavier you are, the more risk of injury you have in a field-based sport. In saying that, when we talk about like the healthy at every size argument, which let's not get into that, but it's very, 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 very simple argument in that biologically, as you get older, you start to get smaller for a reason. Being big has been shown in the research to coincide with early death.
Mm-hmm.
The bigger you are, the older you are, the sooner you die.
Mm-hmm.
That's why your biology shrinks you down.
Mm-hmm.
It is an evolutionary thing that you can't change. So don't claim health at every size, blah, blah, blah. Just look at the research and it tells you that bigger you are for the longer period of time, the sooner you die.
Mm-hmm.
It's really that straightforward. But yeah, in terms of eating for performance, I mean, you eat and train the way you look.
Yeah.
It's really that simple.
I mean, you get the odd, and even to say that athletes are incentivized to be as lean as possible, we can go back through the history of sports like rugby league where positions depend on your composition look.
Yeah.
You've got wingers that'll be sticks or, leaner health.
Fitness almost like wiry.
Yeah, wiry. You've got fullbacks now that can kind of be like almost like a lock but faster.
Yeah.
Then you've got front rowers that can still be, you've got front rowers that punch in, you've got Polynesian front rowers, 120 kegs on the field, playing 20 or 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Now, they're not incentivized to be as lean as possible.
No.
They would eat their house down to sustain that level of size.
Yeah. Well, it's just like looking at the front line, or like the defensive line in NFL.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's they're meant to be big and they're just stopping. They're just powerful positions.
Exactly.
They don't need to be aerobically, cardiovascularly crazy fit. They need to have some level. Don't get me wrong. But they don't need, that's not their primary function because they're not on the field for that long.
Yeah, exactly.
The same thing with your front rowers. It's just like they're not doing overly much in one aspect of the sport.
Mm-hmm.
It's only when they have the ball do they do something. When they don't have the ball, it's like they're just going to take a couple of hits, and it's like, okay, cool.
Yeah. So yeah, it blew my mind as to how these arguments come to be when it's funny just the cognitive gymnastics that we'll play to land on our point to try and justify how right we are and the person's wrong, even when it's literally presented by a well respected, notable scientist and researcher.
Yeah.
No, he must be wrong. He's missing something in the equation. We have control for almost every variable in the fat loss equation.
Yeah.
The fat loss and muscle gain, the weight maintenance debates, every variable basically has been equated for.
Yeah.
These simple principles underline all of them.
Yeah.
And yet it's still these people that will die on the sword and fall on the sword as much as they can that, you don't know what you're talking about. You haven't been an athlete. How are you shooting that from my profile?
Yeah, it's an emotional bias, and we know that emotion is never good when it comes to trying to speak logically.
Correct.
Because they do not work hand in hand.
It's just funny how like the short, sharp reactions that come back. Like there was literally instant like swearing and like poor intellectual articulation.
That's because it comes from an emotional place, and anything that's emotional, it's just not going to be logical.
Yeah,
it's very rare that you get them hand in hand.
Yeah, and just it's like that they're looking for that way to justify why they're still not 6%, and it's like the very simple answer is you just haven't suffered enough.
It's just because you eat like shit. You don't train very hard.
Yes. For all of the equations you're trying to find,
you need to do it for a period of time.
Yes.
Yeah.
16 weeks if you're aggressively training on a calorie deficit, and we'll see how you look.
Yeah.
Nah, it's definitely because the equation hasn't accounted for my autoimmune thyroid over fucking bullshit.
Even then, even if you were to say like, okay, well, you want to play a field-based sport, you're like, okay, I want to play rugby. It's like, cool, just train the way that you need to train and eat the way you need to eat
for that position
and give it time.
Yeah.
Give it 16 weeks and you'll probably see your body composition change. And if it doesn't change, one side of the equation isn't working in your favor. However, or you're simply looking the way you need to look.
Yeah.
If you're performing and eating well and you look the way you look, it's because
That's all you need to do.
That's all you need to do.
Yeah.
Your body's quite efficient at doing that.
The extra bits you're looking for in terms of that composition level is just your desire.
And if you want to be that,
you're probably going to sacrifice
that bit leaner. Something will need to go.
Yeah,
and it's either your output increases or your intake or energy intake decreases.
And chances are, if your energy intake decreases to look a certain way when you're doing a performance-based sport,
it's not going to be a good time.
Your performance is probably going to go down.
Yeah, you're going to suck.
We saw that in the keto literature when there was, I think it's AFL. There was AFL, a review was done on AFL players. There was a player done who started a ketogenic diet based on one of his nutritional coaches in the off season.
Yeah.
And I remember his average output, I think it was a ruck rover.
Yeah. Dropped
like Ks per game.
Yeah, it wouldn't be surprising.
Like absolute detrimental to his career and almost cost him his contract.
Yeah, it wouldn't be surprising at all.
And they would have said, well, you either stop doing that right now, start eating carbohydrates to train. Because we can go through that whole debate of like what substrates are most important for fuel, and yes, you can get them for fats, but to eat for your position, which is a rover, high kilometer sport, you need fuel, you need glucose.
Aerobically taxing, you're running half a marathon every game if you're a rover.
Yeah.
If you're on board, you're running.
That requires carbohydrates.
Yeah. Like look at a marathon runner and ask them what they eat. See if any of them are doing keto.
Yeah.
Like at all. So anyway.
Yeah, so that was an interesting laugh at this young gentleman that got antsy on the old Instawebs, and I was like, people actually think this. People think that like, and I understand you see like the Ironman magazines of fitness or like muscle development, like the men's fitness magazines or whatever, where they'll put like Billy Slater on the cover, and it's like the odd footballer or the odd athlete is lean.
But even then, you look at Billy Slater, he was a fullback.
Yeah.
Like he was a powerful athlete.
Yeah.
He had to run every game back and forward. He was covering everybody. And he ate well, but it's like he did a lot of other shit. Wasn't he a good swimmer at one point as well? And like
you look at photos like the videos of I just saw the videos of Steph Curry. Honestly, from the waist down, he looks like a twig.
Yeah.
Multi-million-dollar physique looks like a twig. It's like, bruh. That's the peak performance for his sport. He's the 3-point shooter.
Like he doesn't need
to look any different, right?
He's just won MVP of the final series and he just won another ring. Like
he doesn't need to change.
If you hit the epitome of your sport, you don't need to change anything.
Leave it right there.
Yeah, you've done it right. Everyone needs to chase you.
Yeah. So he's not coming in with the whole like, he's got to be shredded, more, we're going to be leaner. He's incentivized to be as lean as possible, bro.
No, bro.
He don't care. No. He's smoking his stogie. He doesn't give a shit.
Well, it's like the funny thing is you look at like John Daly in golf.
What is it? Three or 6 packs of M&Ms, two smokes.
On a round of 18, he had like 6 packets of M&Ms, 6 packets of M&Ms, like 4 Diet Cokes, a pack or 2 pack of ciggies, and no water.
Pure that hydration standard.
But he is one of golf's richest people because he's been so good for so long, and it's kind of like, well, you can argue that that's not peak performance, but at the same time,
that's the peak of that performance.
He would probably tell you to suck his left because he's very filthy rich and he's won, every tournament that you need to win.
Yeah. So he's won every major. So
it's kind of like, well, he's won a ton of fucking events. So it's like, well,
this actually falls into a good segue point that James suggested for a bit of a rant to add to. Why people fall for misinformation and fads so easily instead of the research-based side of fitness?
Because usually those that are presenting don't look like they train, to be honest.
Yeah, that is a one side of the coin that's a bit detrimental.
Yeah, like don't get me wrong, I don't mind Menno. Menno's, so people that know Menno, Henselman, his background was actually in accounting and statistics. It wasn't science. Mm-hmm. And then he just basically got involved in personal training and the science side of exercise and was really into it. But most of the stuff when he first started was literally just statistical analysis. So it's like he had no bias purely because it was like, well, this is just what the research says. Yeah. And I've read the research and done the numbers. These are the numbers. Like, that's it.
When the numbers guy says the numbers,
But now I think he's probably going to be, a little bit different. But again, you look at him like, he's lean, but he doesn't really look like I guess compared to what we would associate with people that lift now, it's like guys that are actually semi-big.
But I guess that then comes down to, again, is like Usain Bolt's coach isn't the fastest man before you say it.
Yeah.
And you get those, it might be, I don't know anything about racing, but you might, Schumacher's mechanic wasn't the world's best racer before Schumacher, right? So it's like those guys spouting the numbers, again, they look the way they need to look for that job.
Yeah.
They don't need to be shredded. Sure, if they wanted to be, like you might get like in Mike Israel's and stuff who do a bit of research and like really backed by the numbers. Yeah. They get jacked.
Yeah.
But it's not like they're the representative of the scientists in fitness.
Yeah, and it's an interesting take, because then that's also a debate, like their own camps in itself, like those that are, you know, very intelligent and do the research but don't lift, versus those that are very jacked and do the research. Like you have Dr. Scott Stevenson, like look at him, no one's going to question if he lifts, because the dude is freaking huge. And he's like 50 something and he's still massive and still trains hard. You know, before, you know, John Meadows passed, same thing. You know, like Stan Efferdine, who's still relatively smart. I mean, I don't agree with some of his stuff, but he's relatively smart. Like these guys are all jacked and huge. But then you got on the other side of it, and you got like
Candles and Schoenfields.
And Schoenfeld. And you got like, I'd almost say to a point, like as much as I like Eric Holmes as well. Like we know that he lifts, and he's a very big advocate of like natural training and stuff. That's what 3DMJ do. But then you got guys like a Schoenfeld, for example, and even Chris Beardsley. Like, he's also, these two are like, you know, the top guys in hypertrophy research. They're not very jacked at all. And you're kind of like, well, why are you researching something that you do? But then you got guys like Greg Knuckles, who's really, really smart. And he does, like, he's very strong. But if you looked at him, you just think he's fat. You're like, like, you don't lift. And he's moving 300 kilos and 250 kilos for reps. And you're like,
I think they're kind of the ones we want, to be honest, because they're the ones that they have no bias in a means to get jacked, because they're not implementing it. They're just simply studying it, right? Like,
but I mean,
to a degree,
it's going to be hard to take advice from someone and say, hey, this is how you get jacked. But it's like, you're not jacked. So how do I know this is how to get jacked if you're not jacked? That's the problem. Because you lead by example. Right. So that's why if someone like Scott Stevens is like, this is how I got jacked, like, cool, I'm doing that because you're very big.
Like, and that does sell in this game, right?
I mean?
Like, that does sell in this game. Hey, like you look at it, you know, there's not many other fields where that matters as much. Like you go to a builder doesn't have to have a nice house to build you a nice house.
No, exactly right. Again, it's just proof of work. And so it's like, you know, if Schoenfeld said, this was my client that I've had for 10 years, and this is where he started, and this is where he is. This is what I did with him. You'd probably be like, okay, I'm going to give it a try. But even these guys don't have that. Not many
they just have the research.
They genuinely just have research because their job is research, client coaching. And that's why it's hard for people to even like listen to Mike Israel, for example. It's like, he's awesome. He's very smart. He's very funny, very charismatic. But he's only had like 2 clients now. And it's kind of like, well, you got Jared Feather, which I don't even think was his client, because Jared's his own person. He does his own coaching. And Joe helps him a lot, to be honest. And then he's got, I think, Charlton Banks or whatever it is. But I've got a feeling he's his own coach as well, but I'm not very familiar with him. So it's like, cool. Like you can talk about getting jacked and all this stuff. And, you know, it's not whether you're right or wrong. It's just, it's hard to follow if you're not yourself implementing and coaching and getting the result. Like where is it? So it's like, you know, he'll talk about high volume landmarks and all this sort of stuff. Yet when you watch him train, he's doing 2 working sets and a back off, and you're like, well, that's not what you preach. I'm confused. But, it is what it is.
It's an interesting one to see how easily, because then the other side is that Instagram, social media, and the coaching realm in that regard is just about sex selling. And that's really where it is. Like it's easy to fall for the guy who is blasting a shit ton, whether he's a pro or soon to be pro. And you're like, well, this guy knows his shit because he looks this way. And that's again where the image sells too much.
That's where the other problem is, where people that are also like very genetically gifted, you know, use PEDs and get results, and they're like, like follow my 12-week diet plan.
Like, this is what I did for 12 weeks. I'm not going to mention the 24 years of abuse before that.
I mean, there's always 2 sides to the point,
100%.
right? 2 sides to that story. So it's always trying to find something in the middle. That's, you know, I guess the hard part. But easiest way is you literally pick a coach, go look at their results, you know, see what they're doing with their clients. If they don't put out any content, that's fine. You simply just message the client. Be like, hey, how's your result been? Like, I've been considering.
Considering your coach.
I've been considering a new coach. Like, what's your coach like? Blah, blah, blah. So you get
the client's going to be the most honest source.
And you're going to get good clients. Something like that. You're going to get clients that are like, oh, yeah, this coach is phenomenal, when they're probably not.
Yes.
Because they're not brainwashed, but they're
loyal.
Well, they're into it. But that's why they're there. Like, that's your personal bias. And sometimes you're going to get a client that's going to be like, oh, probably not for you if you can't handle this, this, and this. Like, I would imagine a lot of my guys would just be like, he's probably not the coach for you if you want to do fluff work. Like, we're going to train hard.
You're not going to get 17 exercises from me that's going to have, like, you know, fucking 30 different sets and
Yeah,
25 rep ranges.
5 exercises with 2 working sets.
Yeah.
It's like, oh shit, we're going to work hard.
Yep. Make the most of the work that you're getting.
Yes. Let's do some questions.
Yeah,
So I'm
let's
pretty
do
sure we
some
actually have a few.
All right, let's crack into that.
Let's see what we got. Where are we? Who has the bigger deadlift to date right now? Dare you to test it, you pussies. Me.
Definitely. The highest I ever pushed was a 235 for 5 sets of 4.
Yeah, I haven't done deadlift in a while, but
Yeah, well.
I'm going to bank on me having more.
I would probably do that too, yes.
I haven't done it. Yeah, I mean, I probably don't, to be really honest, but I'm just going to say it because it's fun. Do seeing Insta hoes post what I eat for a day annoy you? I'm not going to lie, I don't follow them.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't see it. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yes,
So I know it does exist, but I don't care because I don't see it.
I get a little in between. If someone is just simply showing what they're eating for the day and it's whatever, like they're not like the same thing with people getting antsy about trying to sue Elon for his Tesla, for his NFT or what was the Bitcoin advice. If you're simply choosing some random person you don't know or haven't engaged with on social media to dictate your nutritional intake, it's partly on you anyway.
Yep.
If they're simply just making content to say, hey, what goes into my day? Yeah, sure, a lot of them are, neglecting micronutrients and veg and stuff like that. But you can't tell someone what not to post on their Instagram if it's within the realms of the guidelines, right? Like you can't say, you're not allowed to share your nutrition. Why the fuck not? If I'm eating this and I just want to see, I'm not saying go do my calories or go do, like, I see that the really hate wagons that come out for those Insta thoughts, like, or even that Insta bros where, it's a day in the life of my eating. No one gives a shit, but at the same time, it's not really hurting anyone because they're just saying, hey, this is what I'm eating. All the hardcore, like, I need to bash influencers to get content sort of people where it's like, these pieces of shit aren't sharing micronutrients. And like, they didn't say they were going to. If that's your presumption that they should do that, fair enough. But then make your content to say that.
Well, yeah, I mean, use it as inspiration for your
content,
content,
right? So, yeah, I do. It does get pretty shitty when it's the same 1,800 calories and they were trying to fit in like triple made overnight quadruple oat cheesecakes and shit like that. And it's like, can you have some Weet-Bix? Can you have some cream of rice? Can you have some carbs? Like, just simplify it.
Keep it simple.
Yeah.
You know me, if it's going to take me more than like 5 minutes to make, I'm probably not going to do it.
Yeah. My only thing, like Chris, I'm sorry, I tried cream of rice. I gave it a few good cracks. I honestly found having 10 Weet-Bix and mix it with protein and mixed berries even better.
Yeah. Give me 4 slices of cheese. Insta famous idiots posting about mental health, grind the gears. This is for Ben.
Mostly if they're trying to leverage it like they know what they're talking about and give a shit.
And trying to like make it a business thing.
Yeah, trying to make it a business thing. Yeah, trying to make a business off it, trying to leverage it for finance or income. If it's just simply someone who like, if someone's on their platform and just simply saying like mental health is a good thing, sweet. When I see the goobers that are like, we're talking about mental health and Men's Health Month and then women empowerment, then I see they're the same people attacking people. I just think you're a piece of shit and you're full of yourself. Well, yeah. Like if you're going to go on about how the industry has to be this way and we need to lift our standards and empower each other and be positive, and then I see you go and just absolutely destroy people specifically, you're just a walking contradiction at this point.
Yeah, and then join up to my mindfulness
program. Join up to my mindfulness program or my mindset coaching or whatever, like you're adding to that. Yeah. It just frustrates because it's like you don't actually care. You're just doing it purely to get the virtue reacts.
Yeah, of course. You're
like
trying to
the men's groups that I push and stuff like that. I don't care if no one knows about it. I just see that there's 400 or 500 guys in there doing something positive.
Yeah, 100%.
So we don't care. No. But I'm not going around and being like, you have to follow me because I push mental health and all sort of stuff. Like most of my actual Instagram content is about that. But that if you message me, you're going to get a psychological answer.
Of course. That makes sense. No suits, gadgets, etc. Which Batman is going to win? Bale, Paddy, or Affleck? I'm going with Affleck.
I'll go with Bale.
Yeah. He was more brutal.
Yeah.
He was the Batman that didn't care and killed everyone, whereas Bale didn't kill anyone.
Yeah, but
he was a bitch. And we can all agree that Paddy just needs to go.
But let's be honest, everything about Watsy was gadgets. Like when he fought Doomsday and he fought Batman, he fought Superman. Everything he used was basic gadgets.
Yeah, but until the fight scene where he was actually bashing people,
then you look at Bale fighting Bane, it was just straight up hand-to-hand combat. And he's enhanced with a steroid toxin.
They didn't really play on that though. We don't know that.
We do. We have a pretty good idea.
In that movie, they didn't show that.
Yeah, he straight up beats Bane. I choose Bale. I think Bale has been probably the better Batman. He's the better Bruce and Bats combined.
Oh yeah, no, we're not saying that. We're just talking about in a pure punch on.
It would be between. It would like Robert can get out. He's not even just go away.
Yeah.
Don't even have a conversation. You're like the dress up Batman that everyone gets to wear every year.
You should be Nightwing. Just
Yeah. You would have been a cute Nightwing with your little emo flick hairdo.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, my Valentine, calm down.
Yeah, I'm going Affleck, and apparently Ben's going to go Bale. So I'm right. He's right. Honey Rambot says insulin is the devil in bodybuilding. Is this false? Is this a false statement?
Nothing anyone says is true.
It depends who you ask. Because if you ask Milos,
let's ask Milos and his clients.
He will tell you the complete opposite.
Yeah,
he'll tell you that insulin is the savior of bodybuilding. So, like anything, compounds, supplements, all that crap, everything has its place.
Yep.
Time, place. Thoughts on FST7 training?
Oh, fuck's sake.
I don't have any. I've never tried it.
Oh.
I don't think I will ever try it.
In my lesser days, I put in some 7-second eccentrics purely for that sarcoplasmic response.
Yeah,
not really. I wasn't as versed as what I am now, and just saw methods to try and things like that. And I was like, well, this is working. Then I realized like this is not what is backed by any sort of evidence. Did further conditioning study, realized it was nothing even accurate, and sort of stepped away from it. It is honestly, it's just a lot of like tempo, controlled eccentric, tempo, controlled eccentric. It's it's get to failure, then force out eccentric tempos to control it. That's really all it is, and it's just nothing.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I'm not going to try it. I'm not even going to try and sugarcoat it.
Nope.
Final form freezer, Piccolo, or Krillin. I don't know what the question was.
Fuck, marry, kill?
Maybe. I didn't even put that in there. I just wrote, okay. I don't know how to answer that question because I don't know what that's in relation to. Maybe fuck, marry, kill. I didn't put that in there though. I mean,
is it a fight?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to fuck Krillin because it's just fun because he's bald.
Yeah. Little numpty head.
I married Piccolo because he's very, very passionate.
He's a sweetheart.
He's a passionate man.
Yeah, he is.
Or alien, whatever you want to call him. I guess I'm trying to kill Frieza. Final form Frieza would be pretty hard to kill.
Is it Gold Frieza?
Well,
his final form Gold Frieza.
Yeah,
that's his final form recently.
Yeah. Anyway, we're going to go with that. We'll just.
Yeah.
Is there a difference in protein uptake from hot versus cold foods? Look, there is a potential bioavailability difference initially. At the same time, it will just digest as it digests over time. So I wouldn't be too concerned about that. Lightweight pause reps on leg extension to help tendon strength, yes or no? Lightweight pause reps. No. Tendon adaptation only occurs with mechanical tension. Like muscle adaptation, they both occur. They just occur at different rates.
Yeah. Just like
so
recovery.
your muscle belly will get stronger faster than your tendons, and that's like the actual problem with PEDs.
Yes, I was going to say.
And those that take PEDs and they get crazy strength really quick.
Yeah.
And then they like tear a tendon, and you're like, yeah, because your tendons just didn't catch up to the muscle belly strength that you had.
It makes sense then as to why we have to include like when we phasically employ strength blocks into maintenance phases, so that you can accumulate and hold at a certain spot without risking injury, because your connective tissue and tendons have to catch up at a certain point before you progress further, otherwise breaks.
Drink nothing but cranked protein drinks or canned plain tuna for a whole year. I haven't had a cranked protein drink.
Cranked protein drink.
I feel like I've seen them.
I think I've seen one. I feel like they're the milk box kind of ones, like the old school like milk box, like popper box kind of thing.
Oh, okay, maybe I haven't seen them then. I was thinking they were like they were in like a cylinder type container bottle. Well, maybe not. I'm probably going to go with the protein drink only because canned plain tuna sounds horrible. Yeah,
that the sheer sensation of that for a year, like fucking jizz, it tastes nice after a year of that.
Yeah, I was just trying to think, but I can't think of what they are. Maybe next time, maybe on next week's episode, we'll pull it up if we remember. We'll do a screen share. Scaff, no cheese slices or hand wipe after every shit for 5 years. We all know I'm going to hand wipe. No problems.
There is no limits there. You're trying to find a boundary. That's not even close.
I'll eat cheese with the other hand. It's I'll shake with my one that I wipe, but I'll shake your hand, but I'll save the other one for the chicks. That's fine. How do you know what you need to learn?
Well, very easily.
When you run into not understanding what we're talking about. No. Go on.
No, so we have what's called a very interesting psychological phenomenon that happens with most people that take interest in a topic is called the Dunning-Kruger effect, where an explosive assumption of knowledge based on early exposure to research or evidence or literature. As that progresses and we realize just how little we actually know, and the more we deep dive, the faster we realize how little we've actually got in our, well, faster we've actually accrued knowledge and wisdom or intelligence on this specific topic. That then instigates us to want to learn more, faster, further, more in depth, more complex. Well, what don't I know yet? And I often find exposing myself to conversation with people above me, or what I perceive as above me, forces me to continually learn.
Well, yeah.
If that person knows more than me, well, then I want to be on that level, or perhaps what were they saying? I do the same thing with articulation, with my, brain freeze. Learning words. Like if I'm looking to learn a word and what something means, like I'll look at it in a conversation, say, how did that make sense? What is that word and how do I interpret it?
Yeah, well, at the same time, it's like the saying, if you're the smartest one in the room, find a new room.
Yeah, it's a shit one to be in.
Yeah, like I guess that'll apply to a lot of things. Like if you're the most jacked in the gym,
find another gym,
right? Like
that's why we drive to Ashmore, which is like a Gold Coast mecca of gyms. We drive there once a month to train. We're like, I'm a pussy.
Yeah,
these guys are huge.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just like putting yourself around putting yourself around people that will encourage you and inspire you to essentially be better. Because at the end of the day, the goal is to be better.
And I think we've touched on it before, but being able to apply critical thinking is also something important too. So there's a difference between reading something you see on Wikipedia or reading something on the first list of Google, which statistically we know in SEO, people actually don't go past the first click after more than 20 seconds.
Yeah, exactly.
So most people will get their first answer and that solves the problem. However, if you're actually trying to develop knowledge on something, you have to explore what both sides of the argument are. Don't just look for what you think is the answer. Look for what the opposite of your answer is that you've got to. And that's going to help like establish a non-bias, or perhaps like start teaching you to think from both sides of the coin. And you start to realize like there's an answer in the middle. People have their own biases, especially you start to learn to read literature and stuff like that, and you see where people's personal biases and their what's the word? Biases, or their biases impact the study or the literature, and they kind of have an internal bias to that outcome. And you're like, okay, so it's kind of right, but also this person wanted it to be right, so you can see how they came out.
Exactly how they've influenced to get the result.
So you can kind of see the greys and the whites in between, where it's like, right, there's a little bit of right here. Yeah. That's probably the best way to start learning as well. It's really like look at both sides of any conversation, topic, debate, argument, see where the other person's coming from. You might have something to learn from that.
Exactly. Gen pop level powerlifters, just lazy fatties that don't want to give up food. It's funny. I mean, it used to be the age-old argument used to be mass moves mass, which we know is completely and utterly stupid. From a complete biological, physiological, physics standpoint, it's just not how it works. It's just not how inertia works, but we're not going to get into that conversation. Does it make them lazy? I think it's more so the environment, because still a lot of powerlifting environments or a lot of powerlifting gyms still live by this philosophy of getting bigger, eating shit food, to get bigger, do what you got to do to get bigger, take all the drugs to get bigger so that you get stronger. It's like, well, like, these novices and intermediate lifters are, taking on these bad habits. Now, when you sort of look at the top 10, top 20 male powerlifters, for example, they're all very lean. Yeah, they're jacked. Yeah, like they're very lean. They could, if they weren't so big and thick, like you give them like another 6 weeks of dieting and you put them on stage. You'd probably be like, okay. And there are a lot of powerlifters moving and transitioning into like stage shows, like novice shows and stuff, just because they can try it. But it's because they're at a position where they don't have to suffer too much, because they're already, again, like we were speaking about, eating for their performance. And, training for their performance so they look the way they looked. It's like, no shit. If you lift heavy fucking ass weight often enough, which you do as a powerlifter, eat relatively well, guess what? You're gonna look pretty damn big
And
and jacked and strong.
Most powerlifters go through a similar phase to bodybuilders at a certain point anyway. If you're not one of those douchebag bodybuilder powerlifting gyms that just does SPD year round.
Well, yeah.
If you're actually going through phases of what do we call it? Geez, I'm a shocker of a day. Accessories, and you're adding accessories to your main lifts, and you're adding lifts to as we talked about before, phase out joint inflammation and fatigue and stuff like that. You're controlling for that. Yeah. Powerlifters go through very similar phases of bodybuilding strength phases anyway. 100%. So it's just they control their composition because they lift so much weight.
Yeah, exactly right.
That metabolic, like their TDE is through the roof just from the fact of like their sheer output, intensity of training, and their consistency with food.
Yeah, and again, doing that over and over and over again.
Like it's like that to me is like one of the underlying principles that we just don't grasp. It's like
months and
you see that powerlifter and he's jacked, like, oh, I want to do powerlifting, or I've got to eat all this food or eat all this shit food and get fat. Or you see the bodybuilders that are jacked and you're like, I want to get that big, so I've got to eat everything. It's just that these guys have done the same thing for so long. People don't want to do that.
No.
It's like you don't want to dedicate 10 years of your life to a task. And it's taken me this long to realize just how long the task truly is.
Yeah.
Unless you're genetically gifted, which is 1 in a billion people.
Yeah, exactly. It's very, very
it's like you have to just simply grind this out. For me to put on weight now, it's probably going to be maybe 10 kilos of stage weight within 3 years.
Yeah.
Which is still a phenomenal rate of growth.
Yeah, if you think about it, it's like putting on 10 kilos in 3 years is huge. Like, you're putting on what, quarter of a kilo like a month. Yeah. Consistently for 3 years. Like that's huge.
Yeah. Like, and that's like that at the time you're like, oh, that's so minuscule. Like I want to be in the over hundreds, 97s, the 110s. I want to be in these lean positions. It's like the guys you see like the Yuan Diesels, the Regan Grimes, the Phillies, like, yeah, they're walking around lean pretty much year round, but they've spent the better part of 20 years being in that position, doing that one single thing.
Yeah, and a lot of them don't need to necessarily get big.
Yeah, exactly right. They're tweaking or filling out weaknesses.
They don't have to do a true off season where you got to basically get big and fat everywhere, and then get swole.
Exactly.
And diet back down. But that's what growing is, and that's when you're at the peak. So it's like your goal is to be at the epitome of that sport. So eat and train for your task, and you will look
and just do
the way you need to look for your task.
Do it consistently.
Yeah,
like it's one thing to me. Like it doesn't matter what field you're in, doesn't matter what hobby you're into, doesn't matter what interest you have. To get good at that thing, it just takes time.
Yeah, well, it's funny when you think about when you watch like local, let's say local rugby, and there's always one player that stands out, and you're like, he is way too good, or she is way too good to be playing in this league. And you look at the person, and then you look at that same equivalent, but in the professional league, and you're like, okay, well, what's the difference? Where's the breakdown? And usually it's because if you look at the person playing on the weekend who's got just as much skill, they're like, well, they probably get out on the beers, they probably eat a shit ton of food, families, work, like whatever, like life. And it's like, cool. But if they were to then, in theory, potentially sacrifice some of that, they could move through the ranks and give the pros a real crack, because skill's not their problem. Yeah. But performing the skill for an entire 80 minutes is.
Exactly right. Like I've talked about this a few times before. When we look at like the top tier of, say, basketball, right? Because it's a well-known sport. Yeah. The top tier of basketball, most shooters, most centers, most guards, all relatively have the same skill set, give or take degrees of height when there's like extremities. Of course, But there's averages, but we know at the top tier, top 1%, there's most of them have roughly the same skill sets and abilities. Yeah. What separates them then is their ability to control that for 80 minutes or 90 minutes. How long the game is like, can you do that year on year to be the great, to be that MVP, that shooter, that player, because you're able to do that for so long, so consistently from just sheer work. Kobe, at the end of every season, would go back to the garage, to his gym, to his gymnasium, would watch the playoff finals videos. Yeah. He would lock himself away and do more assessment. Yeah. He wouldn't go out on weekends like when the rest of the boys would win a final series go party. He'd be back in the shed training. He would rent out the entire cinema so he could see a movie on his own and go home. Yeah. Like the only downtime he had was that. If it wasn't that, it was training and playing with his daughters who would then also be training. Further skill assessment, further skill work. Yeah. There was never a time where he wasn't working. That narrow degree of skill acquisition required a decade or 2-3 decades of not doing anything else. Yeah, and it's like it's the funniest story. Well, not the funniest, but like one of the best stories is it's like the Lakers recruited a new player. I can't remember the player off the top of my head,
and he's like, I'm going to try and get one up, and I'm going to get to the game 4 hours early. Knowing that Kobe gets there 3 hours early.
And Kobe's already there playing.
Already there warming up, shooting. He's like, you got to get here early to get me, mate. But again, that's the difference between good and great.
Yeah, exactly right.
Where do you want to go? So it's like train, eat for the performance that you want. If your performance doesn't increase, then there's something that can be manipulated. Yeah. It's like, and it's just that simple, and it's doing that over time. Yeah,
you just have to be able to be willing to cop the criticism, accept the slack, assess it honestly, and look at where you can improve. And the thing is too, this is why I get so hefty on on the intensity of your goal. You have to be able to understand the intensity of your goal dictates it dictates the degree of sacrifice you have to make to even make it possible.
Yeah.
Just because you make all these sacrifices doesn't mean it happens, but to be in the context of the conversation, you have to make, as your goal gets more severe and more intense and greater of stature or size, you have to make more and more sacrifices to make it even feasibly possible.
Yeah.
So if you're saying, like that park footy player who is absolutely killing it, doesn't quite go to the next step, and you also find out he's drinking, doing drugs, eating mostly shit during the week, and he's just naturally got talent, if he wants to go to that next step, all of a sudden those things have to go away.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's fine if you don't want to do that. No one's saying you're a piece of shit or a bad person.
Exactly right.
But you also have to accept that that wasn't the world hating you or life sucks. There was a degree of self-sacrifice there you didn't want to make.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's the same in any body appearance, composition-based sport, any physical performance-based sport, any hobby-based interest. For it to become the next thing, you have to be willing to do nothing else to a greater degree. Obviously, there's give or take. I don't know, maybe you slipped up and got a girl pregnant, you got a kid, or maybe you have a family itself, a full-time job, you're a student. And this is something I had a conversation with my brother. I think we've had this conversation about it. He went from never studying after 10 years to going to trying to do 4 subjects. He still wants to go out on the weekends and socialize. He still wants to, play or do like group classes like Fitstop. Yeah. He still wants to do weight sessions and train and do his full-time job. Wants to do everything. What he doesn't realize when we had this conversation was, I don't do anything else.
Yeah.
So if you're using me as a sort of marker or checkpoint of a set point to be like, well, this is what I can do because he's doing it, which is how brothers work.
Yeah.
He's also neglected that I don't do anything else.
Yeah, and when Ben says he doesn't do anything, he doesn't do anything. He hasn't taken me out for dinner yet.
Yeah.
Come fly up to Brisbane.
Yeah.
Come see him.
I'm on low days. That's what he gets.
He didn't even give me dinner. Like sushi is all we got, and it was for lunch. Bullshit. Didn't even get dinner that night. I went and played top golf, and then we got Macca's after. Just saying. So just don't come to Brisbane and see Ben.
Don't come to Brisbane if you want food. I'm going to cut. It's just
this is just not pleasant.
I did preface it with being on only have 2 high days, so we fit in a lot of sushi, mind you. A lot. We had a good amount of sushi. We didn't have a lot. We had more like 12 plates each.
We'll be polite.
Yeah, we'll definitely be polite there because it was like 12 plates each, and we were both still famished.
So yeah, it's because you stuffed your fucking thing with your fats. You don't trace fat, so it makes it very hard to go get food.
Yes, it does. My body responds better, and it has been responding, so I'm keeping it.
Can you just have 0 fat on Saturday, and then on Sunday we just get a pizza for dinner? Just 0 fats.
It's a horrible refeed.
You're just going to eat like dry cereal the whole day and protein shakes.
White rice, protein shakes, and pure Fruit Loops.
Yeah,
nothing else.
Literally, that's just sugar. You're not even going to eat that. You're just sugar and water.
Yeah, it's not even going to be starch or fibers in there. It's just going to be sugar.
So that we can get a pizza on Sunday.
That's fair, yeah.
It's Origins on Sunday. So
that's fair. That's true, yeah. But yeah, so that to me is like, it's that degree there. And this isn't even to say that I get ultimate success from this. Yeah. I'm obviously defining my own success and what I'm looking for and working towards. But I know my goals are fucking huge.
Yeah, of course.
And if I don't narrow those things in, and I'm not controlling my sleep for a minimum of 7 hours, which I know is my sweet spot now, if I'm not hitting my meals spaced out over the day, or don't backload them when I've finished work for the day, if I'm not getting my clients, if I'm not getting my training, my steps in, if I know those things aren't being ticked over, well, that's on me because I know those markers are required for me to get that going.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of issue there with people that just don't want to make that. They want the thing, but then there's that extra step of sacrifice that comes in. It's like, nah.
Yeah. Don't want it.
And that's fine. Again, it's completely fine.
Just don't be
shitty about the result that didn't come.
Exactly.
Or that contract that didn't turn up.
Exactly. Don't be unrealistic.
Yeah, exactly right.
Stupid.
Yeah.
But before we let the people go, what do we have coming out?
What do we have coming out? Well, the sleep quiz is going. So that is up and running. So make sure if you are struggling with your sleep, give it a crack. It is definitely it's a star product for us, I think, because it's something that just doesn't exist. I spent a long time scouring it and trying to find it. And I couldn't find anything that replicated what the idea was in my head, so we made it. So I don't like to take other people's work. If it does exist, I will pay homage to that person. I can't find it. So rather than having these standard sleep hygiene index that we all know and whatever, it's just like people saying calorie deficit. We know these things that you should do.
Yes.
We know that you should do those things.
But no
sleep 7 hours, have a cold room, yada yada. But no one has broken it down to the degree we did in order to give you better sleep.
Yes.
With a metric to actually implement. It's like as soon as you get off the quiz, you can actually get information to do straight away.
Yes.
So that was cool for me. So that one's definitely, that's always going to be running for us. And I employ everyone free. It's literally free. Go in and just do it.
Mm-hmm.
Take 15 minutes out of your day to get years of sleep back in your life. It's a no-brainer.
Yes.
And what else we got up? We are working on a seminar for us to be producing down your way, possibly next quarter. Hopefully I'm not too far in prep where I'm dead. We might wait till afterwards.
We'll do after.
And we have the quiz. We have the course to be reviewed in the coming week. See what content needs to be changed or improved and worked out before we finish it all and get that up and running as well. Macro course is obviously going, and coaching spots are still running.
Yeah,
it's all happening.
All happening. Not much going on my end. Same old. Running a gym, online business, playing a lot of golf, not lifting much weight. Same.
Played a lot of golf.
I haven't played that much up here. I thought I was going to play more.
You found a virtual golf and went and played that.
It's literally a block from where and I'm going there today to practice my driver for tomorrow.
That's
it. My driver wasn't too good yesterday, so we got some training to do, but we're good. But all in all, thank you for having me.
That's right, mate. Appreciate you coming on. It's been fun.
Talking shit, getting hit. Just what we do. It's
been funny. It's been funny because we went to Top Golf the other day or last weekend, and we've come up to socialize and do work and interact and stuff, but 4 or 5 of the most socially anxious and introverted people went to one event out in public with people, and it was fucking hilarious.
Yeah, I feel like we were the most extroverted introverts you could come across at that time.
Yeah, at that time, and then we all went home to sleep for 3 days to recharge.
Literally, just like, I'm done.
Yeah, I tried to have this conversation with Isabel once when she was living here with Dalton, and she was trying to tell us how introverts and extroverts work as a very, very, very highly socially. So she was socially anxious in missing out on things.
Yeah.
So she was like super extroverted.
Mad FOMO.
And she get mad FOMO on everything. It didn't even matter if it was a thing of interest to her, she would get FOMO. And she would try and explain to us how introversion works, and having studied I found it quite funny. And she was like, oh, no, people can be introverted, still want to go out and do things. I'm like, they can, but that's not how it quite works.
Yeah.
Like we can socialize. It's not that we can't socialize or go out and do things. It's that we have almost like a quoted for the day.
Yeah.
And once that quoted is reached, I then start to get antsy, agitated. I want to be left alone.
Yeah.
I don't want to see you. I don't want to talk to you. I want to be in my space, doing my shit, chilling out, doing work, whatever it is. And so, like, I would have said all 5 of us, because Nick and his partner came as well. All 5 of us would have had to have been charged that day and not done much else to have that available quotient to go to Top Golf.
I don't think we did much on Saturday. We just had sushi.
No, we had sushi and trained.
Trained, sushi, rest, Top Golf.
Yeah, because after sushi, we went home for a minute.
Yes.
I pretty much had to keep steps going, so I was like digesting sushi because I haven't had a big feed like this in a while.
Yeah.
And then it was like, chill out for a minute, come pick you up. 2 hours later. Actually, I had a nap. Yeah. I had a nap. I had a nap Saturday.
I napped.
Yeah.
Great.
And that was it. So that was funny. It was a good laugh to see. Even though we've traveled literally interstate to interact, nothing is any different than that. Nothing's changed. We still talk. We still message on Instagram. Come over. Come do this.
20-minute walk.
Anyway, still message.
I haven't done so many steps. 20,000 steps yesterday.
I know, it's been ridiculous.
This many steps, but it's good.
Just being polite host, we're walking back to his house to make sure he gets there safe. And then
he also has to get steps in, so shut up.
It serves me to serve him.
Exactly.
And then I end up clocking up a nice little amount of steps.
Yeah.
Bringing my waist down, bringing my body fat down,
exactly.
so it's helping prep.
I'll just stay here the whole time.
If you can stay for the next 14 to 15 weeks, I'll just do peak week, it's not a big deal.
Done.
14 to 15 weeks, we're good.
Done.
But that is me and that is us. So,
as always, to the listeners, thank you for joining in. Hopefully you enjoyed our comfort podcast. That's what we're going to call it, the comfort podcast.
Comfort podcast.
Sorry if it does sound a bit echo. We did have some audio problems, technical issues. because we're not very technically savvy. So,
And by not at all.
yeah, exactly.
This is the best we're going to get.
So next week we'll be back to normal.
Yeah.
Split screens and normal volume.
Basically, message Dave, our tech guy, and be like, bro, you didn't come up here. This is your fault. You should have flown up here the other side.
Actually, he had COVID, so he wouldn't have been able to.
Oh, pussy.
Yeah, bad. All right. As always, if you need, let us know. If you want to tell us subjects to talk about, message Ben. Peace.